I'm Garima Jain and I work at the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. We engage with the processes of urbanization in India and the promises and challenges it holds. This research aimed at understanding the role of private sector in reducing disaster risk in large-scale infrastructure and real estate projects, and we focused on the case of Delhi. Our key finding was that increased private participation does not translate into improved DRR. The reasons being lack of incentives for the private developers and gaps in the regulatory provisions. The pace of urbanization in emerging economies is leading to growing densities of population, in turn increasing the risk of hazard exposure and vulnerabilities. Delhi is the largest metropolis by area and second largest by population in India. It is exposed to multiple hazards like floods, earthquakes, liquefaction, fires, terrorism, etc. These sectors are growing at an unprecedented pace. Public sector in developing countries are incapable of providing sufficient investments for large-scale developments, and private sector is highly encouraged to participate. The risks of hazards increase with the scale of projects and affect the society socially, financially and economically. These losses have long-range impacts across geographies and time periods. Most risk associated with disasters is eventually transferred to the public, users or the government by shareholding agreements, sale of property to the end users, etc. Planning and approval authorities do not have sufficient DRR expertise. Fire services, for example, are still nodal agencies for all disasters, irrespective of their training, resource capacities, nature and scale of disasters. National building codes give ample distinction to few hazards and not all, and an overall perspective on integrated approach is missing in conceptualizing of planning processes. The impacts of a natural hazard are highly underestimated due to lack of probabilistic data and a lack of recent history of an event, especially in the case of Delhi. There is a low level of insurance penetration in India. Insurance schemes do not provide an adequate alternative to government funding for disaster relief, especially for high frequency, low intensity disasters. Although for low frequency, high impact disasters, financing through insurance is a feasible option. Engineers are not regulated by any governing body or act and are free from any professional risk. This reduces their stake in the projects. Increase public participation in private development, regulate professional practices, increase regulators' technical and resource capacities. Promote integrated frameworks based on probabilistic risk assessment, include DRR measures in sustainability certifications and standards, expand the base of risk coverage through innovative financing means, increase powers and financial strength of institutions, build a cadre of risk mitigation specialists, introduce risk mitigation at the board, management and supervisory level, establish probabilistic risk levels for all built elements at relevant life cycle or return periods and by making them publicly available, establish local, state and national level databases of information and cases for hazard exposure and vulnerabilities, conduct a general study of non-life insurance markets. So in essence, there is a huge opportunity at hand to incorporate DRR in the planning and implementation processes of large-scale development projects via the private sector. This can be done by increasing private sector stakes and incentives to adopt DRR, reducing gaps in the regulations, and creating an enabling environment where all stakeholders have appropriate influence towards incorporating DRR. Thank you.